This is a true story. When a group of men took on the challenge of cave diving, one diver at the front tragically died in an accident. Another teammate who witnessed it was so frightened that he panicked, began breathing irregularly, and drowned. The diver trapped in the middle couldn't move. Terrified, his limbs shook and his scalp went numb. Seeing fallen teammates both in front and behind him, he was left wondering how he could possibly escape. The incident occurred on February 6, 2014. 5 men cut a triangular hole into the frozen surface of a snack bar, under which lay the cave entrance. To keep the water clear and reduce the disturbance of sediment, they planned to enter the cave in 2 groups. The expedition was expected to last about 5 hours, so their equipment was fully prepared. 2 divers entered the cave with propulsion devices and swam about 30 meters through the darkness. They reached a vast passage more than 200 meters long, where they rested briefly before continuing deeper. The river water was freezing cold, and the tunnel became narrower and narrower, surrounded by jagged cliff walls filled with potholes. After descending to the cave's deepest point, 135 meters, they encountered a nearly 180-degree turn. Patrick pushed his propulsion device forward and carefully swam onward. As he continued, he noticed that his teammate Giroux had fallen behind. Turning back, he saw Jarayu's flashlight shaking rapidly up and down, a distress signal. Patrick immediately swam over to check and found that Giroux was stuck against the rock, tangled in the cable of his propulsion unit. Patrick tried to help free him, but Giroux was in complete panic, looking increasingly tense. All of them were using closed-circuit rebreathers, which have the advantage of recycling breathable gas for longer dives. However, under stress, this system can be dangerous. Hyperventilation can easily lead to respiratory alkalosis, a life-threatening condition. The rebreather detected abnormal breathing and triggered an alarm. As Giroux tried to switch to his backup open-circuit regulator, he choked on several mouthfuls of water. His limbs began to seize. Hasurik saw what was happening and immediately shoved a regulator into Jarayu's mouth. But it was already too late. Giroux gradually stopped moving, staring at his fallen teammate. Patrick forced himself to remain calm. He wanted to return with Jarayu's body. But at that moment, he realized his own breathing was becoming unstable. The decompression chart showed that a safe ascent would now require 400 minutes, 3 to 4 times longer than expected. Grieving, Patrick had no choice but to press on. Meanwhile, the other 3 men entered the cave according to their scheduled time, unaware of what had happened ahead. When they reached the deeper part of the cave, the first 2 spotted a teammate stuck in the passage. When they realized that Giroux had floated to the surface and died, diver Jarayu panicked immediately. His breathing became rapid and disordered, impairing his awareness. He hurriedly switched to his open-circuit equipment. Another diver, stuck behind, also noticed Jarayu's erratic behavior and tried to calm him down. But before long, Jarayu too lost his life. Kai was overwhelmed by a sense of helplessness. The water around him had turned murky. He couldn't see what was ahead, and Jarayu's body was blocking his way. Fearing the worst for the others, Kai decided to return the way he came. The way back was longer than the way forward, and at this point, his oxygen was nearly depleted. There was no time for a decompression stop. He just wanted to reach the surface chamber as fast as possible. Meanwhile, Visa was still trying to figure out how to get past Jarayu's body ahead of him, only to find that another teammate, Jarayu, was now blocking him from behind. After some thought, he decided to pull Jarayu's body aside so he could squeeze through. It took him at least 15 minutes to move Giroux enough to pass. But by then, his oxygen could no longer support a proper decompression. He had no choice but to ascend, risking decompression sickness. After an unknown amount of time, Visa saw a light ahead. It was Patrick. When the 2 met up, they both assumed the other 3 divers had died. Meanwhile, Kai, who had swum back, believed that the 4 ahead of him had all perished. In the end, the 3 survivors returned to the surface, received treatment for decompression sickness, and called for help. Only then did they learn that only 2 divers, Giroux and Jarayu, had actually died. The next day, a rescue team was immediately dispatched. However, due to the complexity of the cave structure, authorities eventually decided to abandon the recovery effort and sealed off the area, leaving one of the bodies behind forever. The 3 survivors, once recovered, couldn't accept this outcome. They decided to retrieve their teammates. A month later, they quietly gathered 27 divers and spent 5 days retrieving the 2 bodies. They also filmed a documentary about the mission. This secret operation gained wide attention from the media. Although they had violated official restrictions, they were not punished.